Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, April 7th, 2022. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. Those of you watching on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, smash those like buttons, hit the subscribe button, and check out the lovely and talented Mark Porter and the Dean of Ohio State Recruiting, Bill Kurlick. Mark is losing his stuff over there. But we're going to talk about a lot of recruiting today because a lot has gone on. Starting with this, Malik Hartford, Lakota West standout, has verbally and committed to Ohio State. Bill, you were there yesterday. Give us the latest on what you think of Malik Hartford and what went down there. I have to say, I wasn't shocked. We all kind of felt he was in the mix, but it does look like Ohio State is doing better in Cincinnati than in recent years.
Yeah, they got a missile in Malik Hartford, and I mean that in a very, very positive way. I mean, the guy is just like a missile. You know, he's shot. He is so fast to the ball, and he did what he did last season, basically on a badly injured shoulder all season. He injured it early. He then had surgery right after the season. But he is a great prospect, and what a nice young man, too, and a 4.0 plus GPA, I might add. Ohio State got a really, really good one in Malik Hartford, and, you know, the crystal ball was 100% Ohio State, so I think most people figured that was all going to happen, and it certainly did yesterday.
Mark, you've done an extensive scouting report on him. What are your thoughts? Some people thought he might be a corner, but he's definitely pegged as a safety.
You know, and that's why they like him so much is the corner skills at safety. And you can do a lot at safety when you have those corner scores. They can roll you up and you can play the slot. They don't have to bring in a slot on third down, so you can kind of do it naturally. Plays over the top, and he can play man-to-man. Some safeties, they're just in the box guys or over the top guys. He does all three. He's very good in the box. What was so impressive when you go to see Lakota West is you can't believe there's another Ohio State player on the field. You have Tegra, you have Jair Brown, and then you're saying, is that really another one? And if you talk to Coach Bolden down there, he thinks he might have one or two more Buckeye caliber players, which, you know, we'll wait to see if that happens. But unbelievable, and you know that could be the next pipeline. You put that many guys in Ohio State that quick and start turning heads. But you know, Malik Hartford certainly a great get, and I like his size too. You know, his size is safety size, so he either has safety size at corner or he has corner skills at safety. You like both of those things.
The days of the Roy Williams safety are long gone. You know, you got to be able to cover, you got to be able to move, and Malik Hartford kind of is going to offer all that range and everything. Tremendous. All right, there's been some crystal ball craziness after what was an incredible weekend at Ohio State for recruiting, and that'll all come out as Bill answers all of our questions here. And like I said, if you have any questions for Mark or Bill, this is your chance to ask them live. We will get to all of them, provided you get them up there in the comment section. 2 crystal balls have rolled, Mark and Bill, and from interesting individuals. Steve Wiltfong threw one in for Darren Reed, defensive tackle out of Georgia, and Andrew Ivins, our Florida guy, did one for Florida running back Mark Fletcher to Ohio State. Bill, bring us the latest on those 2 guys. It does seem like every other recruit in the world now is from Georgia.
Well, I spoke to Darren Reed right after his Ohio State visit, and you know it went extremely well. He was very, very impressed, and left no doubt that Ohio State is very high on his list. He's a 6'5", 260-pound defensive tackle out of Columbus, Georgia. You know, I think as my column on Saturday morning says, if I had to pick right now, I would go with Ohio State for Darren Reed. I'm not quite ready to crystal ball him yet, but he likes Ohio State a lot. Georgia's involved there too, Florida State, but somebody definitely that had a great time at Ohio State. As far as Mark Fletcher, you know, he's another one that I've talked to and speaks very highly of Ohio State. In fact, if I were to say that I would probably crystal ball Darren Reed to Ohio State right now, if I was going to make a pick on him, I would say even more so for Mark Fletcher. He is going to be dropping Fletcher, that is, his top 4 in the coming days up to a week or so. And Ohio State, certainly I expect to be in there. And I just think Ohio State's sitting in a good place for him right now.
Mark, we were talking before the show, and Ohio State has been in on several tremendous running backs. Fletcher really hasn't been a name we've discussed too much. We've been more talking about guys like, Richard Young, Justice Haynes, Cedric Baxter Jr. You've seen them all. Can you put Fletcher in context with those guys?
Yeah, I can't believe that we're talking about actually another running back, and especially from the state of Florida. This kid reminds me of a little bit of Najee Harris. He did a little bit out of the backfield. He's a bigger back. He's got some power. I've seen him listed at 6'2" and 6'1", 230 pounds. Against high school competition, he had a little Derrick Henry feel to him. He was so big and so powerful, always running downhill. In terms of Ohio State backs, it's your Trey Sermon type. It's a Carlos Hyde type. I think he's ranked lower because I don't think he has the breakaway or the burst. You see him in the open field, and you see corners run him down. But you also see, like Derrick Henry, he's giving those guys a fit. He's running them over. I mean, he evaporated a few kids on film where they were standing in front of him, and I don't know where they went because he just kept going and never lost speed. So it's that type of power he has. And in the Ohio State offense, Trayvon Henderson's great around the goal line, and he's great in short yardage, but there's a lot of wear and tear that they'd probably rather put on a bigger back. And they've always had kind of a 2 or 3 back rotation. And, Ohio State with this NIL and all these guys wanting to keep them in the same place, they're probably going to play a couple backs. I'm sure they're going to have their lead dog, but complementary type back, not a 3-down back. I don't know if he stays on the field all 3 downs, but he has a burst when he gets the ball. But in the open field, you don't see the long speed like you do from Cedric Baxter, Young, and those other guys. So hence the lower ranking. But, hey, power through those tackles is something, you can't really put a price on. And everyone likes to highlight film, and they like the speed, and they don't know how to truly give value to a powerful back between the tackles.
One thing that Ohio State really likes too about Mark Fletcher is his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's really good at that. And we at Ohio State a few years ago they had a guy that was pretty good too that could catch the ball out of the backfield and block and do it all. That guy was named Ezekiel Elliott.
He's good.
Yeah, and that's why I gave you that Najee Harris thing. He has like an Alabama running back feel to him, and he made a couple catches on film, and I'm like, he looks just like that type, that power back that does give you that. But those other guys are ranked higher, I would say, based on speed, but not based on the power.
Yeah, it's interesting. The other guys fit the mold of what they have now, which is interesting. You know what I mean? Like Trayvon Henderson and those guys are in that mold. Even Evan Pryor, I would say. I wonder if they're thinking about going to more of a 2-back system, and this guy would almost be like their 3rd down, short yardage, blocking, receiving guy. Because like you said, I don't see him being a lead dog in this offense, but as a complimentary, kind of like a rich man's Master Teague, if you will, could be a real nice option. So,
and this is just something when you're building a roster, you don't want the same type of receiver. You don't want a bunch of 6'2" guys. You don't want a bunch of 5'9" guys either. But every couple of years, take that 5'9" speedster, the jitterbug, the punt returner, and take that 6'4", 220-pounder who doesn't quite have the speed, but hey, in the red zone package, when he rolls in, he presents problems. So not necessarily this back, but any type of power back they would recruit would fit that roster building thing. Like every 2 years, let's bring in a power back. Yeah.
They're going to be good at running back though, because every guy we've even discussed is just a tremendous prospect. So that's awesome. Let's talk more crystal ball action and guys cutting their lists down, Bill. We're back to Lakota, this time east, not west. Austin Cereville cut his list to 3. I'm going to go Notre Dame, Alabama, Ohio State. If that's accurate, I believe it is. Not a bad trio to finish on. Both have had tremendous success. All 3 programs developing offensive linemen for the NFL. What's your vibe, Bill?
Well, that is accurate, Dan. That is his final 3. He dropped that last night, and we had it on Bucknuts last night. Not surprising that he picked those 3. I think really it's likely to come down to 2. I think he's likely to end up at Ohio State or Notre Dame. And obviously Notre Dame has recruited very well, very, very well on the offensive line, and they've developed those guys too. You know, they've done well with offensive linemen. Not to say Alabama hasn't, because they certainly have, but you got to give a lot of credit to Notre Dame. Having said all that, you know, if I was going to make a pick right now for Austin, and I've said this for a while, I would go with Ohio State.
What do you think of him, Mark?
Yeah, you know, I kind of agree with Bill there, just kind of reading the tea leaves of people I talk to. It's an Ohio State lean. I know he made the other visits other places, Alabama and Notre Dame, and, you know, I think Ohio State wins in the end. I think he's more going to stay home, in his home state. You know, he's a tackle right now. I think he can play guard. I think when they had him down at the Under Armour camp, they moved him around to different positions. They even had him at center a little bit. Not that that means a whole lot there. But I think his body might not be as long as like a Paris Campbell or some of these other long bodies. And he does have some guard qualities. We're not going to get that guard to tackle thing going here, but he's kind of a tweener right now. I don't know if he's a left tackle and has the elite feet to do the pass rusher. He's probably a right tackle. But again, he's still developing. And I think since I saw him in the season to the summer, he's looked a little lighter on his feet, maybe a little more agile. And again, we're going to probably break him down senior season to see how he's progressing.
Yeah, Paris Campbell, very talented, but I'm pretty sure you're referring to good old Paris Johnson. That's good.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Yeah. Paris Johnson. Yeah.
The blindside template himself. All right. I want to talk about one more guy, and then we're going to hit all these questions. I'm not going to say this name came out of nowhere, Bill, but when you reported on him earlier in the week, I will say it was as pleasant news about a recruit that I read in a while. He is the #1 safety by every ranking service that does rankings, and his name is Caleb Downs. Give us the absolute latest.
Well, Ohio State is absolutely in that battle for Caleb Downs. He visited Ohio State this past weekend. He actually made it on Sunday. He wasn't with the group that was at the scrimmage on Saturday. He was at Alabama, and then he made it to Ohio State on Sunday. And, you know, I've talked to some people in Georgia in particular, and they really feel Ohio State is a huge player for him. They're not necessarily saying he's going to be a Buckeye, but as someone told me, Ohio State is going to be in this one to the end. Perry Eliano has done a great job recruiting him, and Ohio State has gone to a 3-safety system, and they're going to sign, if they can, 3 safeties in this class. They've got obviously now Malik Hartford, they've got Cedric Hawkins, and then they would love to get Caleb Downs. They also like Joel Aguero, Fagan, Damon Fagan from Florida visited Ohio State last week. So they're in great shape to possibly land 3 safeties. And Caleb Downs is an impact guy that if they could somehow pull this one out, it would be huge, and they got a shot.
I don't know if it's me, but it seems like every other recruit, Bill, is from Georgia these days. Are you getting that vibe?
Well, there's certainly a lot of. I mean, that state is so talented. Georgia, Alabama, or Georgia and Florida. There are just so many kids down there, and Georgia can't take them all. And even some of the ones Georgia can take, Ohio State can occasionally pick one of those guys off.
Yeah, I was going to say, it used to be when we got a guy out of Georgia, I felt like it was more of a sleeper type. I guess Raekwon McMillan was a top of the board guy, but often it's like you figure, like the question we get, like on the AJ Hoffler situation, is why doesn't Georgia want him? And the response we got from people who know is, believe it or not, there are 3 people they like better. So, man, I'm just glad it's Kirby Smart there and not Nick Saban or Urban Meyer, because Lord knows what would happen at Georgia if one of those guys got a hold of that state. All right, those of you listening to the podcast, we're going to take a quick break. Those of you watching, just hold on one sec. And we are back. Now we're going to go through the questions. Some of them may be redundant. Let's see here. We just did this one, but J. Henry Miller, I hope we already answered that. Bill said we are in the mix for Caleb Downs, and he is a stud. Mike Schaefer asks, any offensive line recruits on the team now capable of making an instant impact a la Michael Jordan? Either one of you.
Yeah, I think I talked on that podcast. The very first one we did is, when's Tyler LaRue going to show up? When's Ben Crispin going to show up? One of these guys going to make this impact to answer this type of question? And, you know, I wish I had the answer for it, but that's the type of dark horse, you know, you're looking at. course, I'm talking about a couple of Ohio guys coming out of high school, but Ohio State's going to desperately need one of those guys to step up because they've recruited a lot of guys out of Ohio, even Integra Shabula or someone like that coming in. I think Integra, I've been in love with him ever since I saw him sophomore year. He looked like he was ready to play for the Bengals his sophomore year. So, there's someone like that, like a Thayer Munford did, where you didn't expect much, and all of a sudden, boom, he's in the starting lineup, and, he's playing right away. At Ohio State, that's not shockingly, something that shocks you when it happens.
And I saw Integra yesterday at the Malik Hartford announcement. Integra looks good. I mean, he looked solid, pretty solid yesterday. And another guy that's going to step up big time, I think, for Ohio State this season, Donovan Jackson out of Texas. I expect him to be a very, very good starting guard for Ohio State this season.
Yeah, Donovan Jackson is a complete stud. If you've read The Boarding House lately, you know that insiders are about as high on him as any offensive lineman that's come through the pike in a while. All right, Bill. Nick Stamen. Very simple question. Brandon Inniss question mark. Let's do this. Let's do the Brandon Inniss, Carnell Tate possible tandem at Ohio State. His 7-on-7 coach said it was a possibility. Latest.
Well, I think it's a possibility. I definitely like where Ohio State stands right now with Carnell Tate. What I want to see, though, is what happens this weekend when Carnell Tate makes the only official visit he has scheduled right now. He's going to Tennessee this weekend, and see what happens if that changes anything. I don't think it's going to, but with the NIL and everything else, you just never know. So I want to see what happens this weekend. But right now, I definitely like where Ohio State stands with Carnell Tate. With Inniss, Ohio State made great strides with him this past weekend. He loved it here. I talked to him before, on Saturday night, and he had a great time. I didn't necessarily think Ohio State was up there with USC prior to his visit this weekend. Now I think Ohio State has either passed USC for Inniss, or at least has drawn even with USC for him. And the thing is, though, he's going to go the distance. His plan right now is he's going to take official visits, and he is going to go through the process before he decides.
Mark, you've seen them both. You've done evaluations on both. It's almost like replacing Olave and Wilson with Olave and Wilson.
I think Inniss is the one that is more of the clone of Olave and Wilson. Carnell Tate, I thought, was a little bit taller, a little bit bigger. I kind of would like to see Ohio State get some bigger bodies, but they've had so much success with the 5'11", 6-foot guy that comes in and out of breaks smooth, guy that's silky, smooth, fast, or, that in vogue 6'3", 6'4" receiver that a lot of NFL teams are going for. And you're getting the job done, and you're proving you got 2 first-rounders doing it this way. So Inniss is more the clone. I thought Tate was just a little bigger version.
All right, Bill, I think you answered this and said 3 for Mani Ja. Is it possible that we take 4 safeties in this class?
Well, to me, that would certainly be atypical. I can't remember the last time Ohio State has taken 4 safeties in a class, but they are now in a 3-safety system, and they've got 2 right now in Hawkins and Hartford, and they're both outstanding. If somehow they could pull Downs and Aguero out, and then there's Damon Fagan, I think that would be something they would consider. Those guys are you're not going to turn down Caleb Downs, and if you get one of the other guys, hard to turn down either one of those guys either.
From Nick Stamen, who's on fire today, is Jim Knowles the type of defensive coordinator that wants to stay as defensive coordinator, or does he want to be a head coach? I'll take that. I don't think we really know the answer to this right now. If you just look at his career, though, this is not Jeff Hafley coming in on the way up. This is more a guy kind of developing his craft, I think, and he's a little bit older than those dudes. Could he be a head coach? I guess, but he really does seem to me like he's a defensive guru who's really found his best spot. So I will say this. I hope he doesn't want to do that. We kind of discussed this already, Bill. Are they actively recruiting additional running backs because they feel like they're losing steam with Richard Young?
I don't feel that way at all. I still think his decision, Young's decision, comes down to Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia, and I still think all three schools are very much in the running. You've got him, you've got Justice Haynes that we've talked about, and you've got Cedric Baxter along with Mark Fletcher. So I think Ohio State's in pretty good shape to land at least one of those running backs, and I would not rule out two.
From Michael Helderman, go Bucks. Where do Wilson Olave land in the NFL draft? All right, I am a bit of a draft geek, so I'll give you the latest. And let's piggyback on what Mark was talking about earlier. One of the ways you get Brandon Inniss and Carnell Tate to really like Ohio State even more is have them watch the draft. Because, and I say this every time we're on here and talking about these guys, yes, people like Mr. Bucknuts don't care about the NFL. Guess who cares about the NFL? Brandon Inniss and Carnell Tate. If you show people a direct line to 3 years in the league and then being a first-round draft pick, I think Garrett Wilson could go as high as number 4 overall in the draft. By the way, Chris Olave is rumored to be going 11 to the Commanders, who are now going to have, if they do that, Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, and Chris Olave on the same team, with Terry McLaurin, I'm told, in line for a $25 million per year contract. That's very attractive to people looking to get a career going and get paid. So I think both guys will go in the top 15, and I think it's an unbelievable recruiting tool. It's kind of felt like we've had cornerback U and defensive end U, and now wide receiver U is kicking in a little bit. When your fourth receiver transfers, blows his knee out, and is still a first-round draft pick, you have good receivers. Go ahead, Bill.
And I talked to Inniss, I talked to Tate, I talked to Jeremiah Smith, who's the top wide receiver in the 2024 class, and Josiah Trader, who is one of the top wide receivers in the 2024 class. I spoke with all of them this weekend, and every single one of them said what Ohio State is doing in developing wide receivers, and then wide receivers being picked high in the NFL draft is absolutely a huge factor in their decisions.
And let's add one more thing. It doesn't hurt to know that no matter when you come to Ohio State, you're going to have a first-round draft pick at quarterback throwing you the ball. So you're going to be in good shape, and that does not show any sign of slowing down. We've done some talk about.
You know what? I want to talk about something. As you brought up Stroud, I remember doing stuff like this 1 year ago, and we had no clue who the guy was going to be. Stroud was leading, but we kept talking about it. Is it this guy? Is it that guy? And what I want to point out is from 1 year to right now, he's an obvious first-round pick. Look at how that stock went through the roof, and that's what recruits know about Ohio State is, boy, 1 year in front of the microscope at this program, you do your job. You go from relative unknown. You know, kids don't even have your jersey yet. Printers don't even know which one to print. Sure. And now it's an automatic first-round draft pick type guy.
And what's also great is, as we just pontificate on Ohio State's greatness, is that they've now done it at almost every single position. You know, some programs get known and branded as, you know, a specific spot, but they've done it at cornerback, defensive end, but quarterback is the key, because when you sat a few years ago and said, who's the best Ohio State quarterback in the pros, you know, it wasn't exactly a long discussion. And now you're in the mode where, you know, every guy that comes out is going to have a chance to be picked high. Even what Dwayne Haskins did in this system compared to what he did outside of it, to me, is an argument for Ohio State and the structure. All right, Bill, from Glenn Dinkins, would you put Jonte Cook II in this class?
Not right now, I wouldn't. You know, I'm not ruling him out. He says he's going to make an official visit, but I've also talked to people in Texas, and they feel he could end up at a number of different places, including Ohio State being high on his list. But right now, I think he's more likely to end up at Texas or Texas A&M.
All right, we're going to have two more questions. I had one here that I wanted to. Okay, Bill, this is a great one from J. Henry Miller. Does Ohio State prefer Jaden Davis or Dillon Raiola? Most people listening or watching probably know who those two guys are, but give us a quick update on the quarterbacks and who you think they prefer.
They are both 2024 quarterbacks, and they are 2 of the top 10 overall prospects in the country in the class of 2024. They're the top 2 quarterbacks in the country in that class, and you can put them in whatever order you want. I think Dillon Raiola gets a little more publicity as being maybe slightly higher than Davis, but they're both great players, and they both absolutely are considering Ohio State. Now, having said that, it's not going to be an easy get for the Buckeyes in either one, even with all their quarterback success. I think Raiola, I think right now USC and Ohio State are battling at the top. Davis, Ohio State is absolutely one of his top choices, but I don't want to say, I would not crystal ball either one of them to Ohio State right now. I would just say that Ohio State is absolutely in the running for both of them.
I think it's fair to say that what Ryan Day has done and his staff, that they will be in the mix for any quarterback they go after. All right, Mark, last question, just to show how good we are at this. From James McGowan, Mark, any big-time prospects coming up from the Youngstown area?
Yeah, as you look on Youngstown, Brock Lowry is one of the biggest prospects in town, and he's a quarterback. He'd be a linebacker or safety prospect for Ohio State right now. He's just a great all-around athlete with Iowa State as his top offer. Youngstown Cheney has Jalen Hewitt. He's an excellent player, and they have also Waller, the 2024 kid who's been down to Ohio State, I'm pretty sure. Both kids that we're going to probably profile as we get into the summer here. But and then the kid out of Austintown Fitch, Brian Robinson, 6'5", 245-pound defensive end, just got the Kentucky offer. Doesn't have a bunch of tape, but going through drills, and I have some footage of him going through drills we'll probably show on Bucknuts, that he's going to be a player. He's going to be someone probably talking about as one of the better prospects to come out of Youngstown if he puts his hand in the dirt and gets after the quarterback this year. Austintown Fitch has a few other guys. Cameron Thompson or Cameron Williams, he's a safety, just got a Kentucky offer. They have a big back. Jarrell Williams just got Bowling Green. It's a pretty good-looking class. Ursuline also has some players over there. You know, Youngstown, for a few years ago, in the last 5 years, was only putting out maybe one prospect a year. The kid that went from Cheney to Boston College last year, Clive Wilson, I thought was an Ohio State-type player. They absolutely stole him out of Ohio. So Youngstown area is back, I'll say. We've had a nice couple years of a run at it.
Love to hear it, and obviously that's close to your heart. We appreciate everybody watching and listening. If you are on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, please like and subscribe. Do the same for the podcast. We'll be back next Thursday. Have a good one, Bucknutters.